Moving on, a little bit more about the layout of the software. You've been charged with a takeoff and you've been given all the drawing files. So you need to get your drawings into the viewing window, the Workspace window. So you've gone through your inquiry, you've picked out the drawings that you're going to work on. You just need to get them into the Workspace. So let's get the first one in, and you just browse as you normally would by going to File, Open, browse to the folder you require and pull in the drawing you're going to work on. Got an elevation there and also got a setting out plan. If you notice, it's put each drawing into its own tab, but when I brought the second drawing in, I got this dialog window pop up. This document contains untitled viewports which may interfere with calibration or measurements. Would you like to remove them? Go ahead and say yes, and I'll explain what that is and why that occurs. As you know, CAD drawings, and then they're converted to PDF or Revit, whatever model they use, software modelling they use, produces layers. So they're all sort of predetermined layers that are just pasted on drawings. In this particular drawing, there are some items that are locked down by whoever's created the drawing, and if you look in the markups list down below, you'll see this stuff appear. If you click on one of the items in the markup list, you'll notice that on the screen it corresponds with that actual icon. So these markups that appear in the markups list are nothing to do with our takeoff. It's data we don't require, and when it comes to exporting our data, as you'll see later on, you'll have a whole list of items that you've got no control over, but they're just expanding your output, and you'll need to edit them out of the spreadsheet. A quick and easy way of getting rid of those at this stage, and it's a good habit to get into, is any drawing that you see these appear on, is to go into the ribbon menu at the top, click on Document, scroll down to Flatten. A dialog will pop up and it will ask you what what options you want to get rid of. Generally, get rid of all markups, and what that will do, it will produce a flattened version of the drawing. And you'll see how that works in a minute. And it's always a good idea to leave this one checked, allow markup recovery to unflatten. So if you ever need to go back and reverse the changes, then you can do, but the way we work, we're making a copy of the drawing in any case and saving the original. So go ahead and click flatten, and you'll notice that now all of the unwanted markups are now done away with. So as I said, if you notice that each appear in their own tab, and what started to occur in this file access pane over here is that all the drawing names and numbers appear in here. Once this screen gets busy with 10, 12 drawings and then 1 or 2 sessions go by, this will get quite populated quite heavily, and you can actually clear that by going into Review, Preferences, click on Preferences, go into the Interface menu, and you've got some dialogues in here that will allow you to clear. You can also reduce the number of drawings that appear in here to half a dozen or so, which is quite handy. But if you just clear that, you'll see that that list is has now gone. A lot less confusing. So supposing I'd gone on and I'd measured what I needed to measure on both these drawings, this will be more relevant once we start measuring, but you can actually combine these drawings into one document. So, and there's a point to this. So if I go into File and I go into Combine, and then I add, from this dialog box, I put Add Open Files. You see these 2 files here are the 2 I've worked on. they correspond to the tabs and the drawing names. So if I just click OK, what Bluebeam will do, it will spit me out into a new window where I've got a stapled drawing. That's the term used for when Bluebeam combines all the drawings together in one staple. And you can see I've got 2 pages in that drawing. So supposing I'd done my markups and finished, I've combined in the 2 into 1, gives me a new document. Whilst I'm in that tab, File, Save As, rename it, and it usually puts you back into the original destination folder. Give it a unique name, click on Save. So I've got my markup, it's renamed it to Markup 2. Now whilst I'm still in this tab, I right click at the top, and I want to get rid of the other tabs, I don't need them now. And the reason I do this in this way is that close other tabs, and had I made any changes to those, it would ask me if I wanted to save those changes. So to maintain a copy of the original drawings untainted, just dismiss them and don't save the changes, and you will have a copy of the originals saved in this Markup 2 new file, which you can go on to further manipulate. And the point of showing you that at this stage was that now that we've combined those, there's a handy little tool over on the ribbon menu that drives this pane. It's thumbnails. So now I've stapled my drawings together, you can see that all the pages are navigable via this menu. You've also got the option of the arrow menu down here in this ribbon at the bottom, but when you've got half a dozen drawings or so, it's quite handy to just visually click back and forth between the 2. It's fairly straightforward. I don't know if also you noticed that once we brought something into this workspace, that all these icons and menus became ungrayed and available for selection. When we start measuring again, I'll explain what those are, how to use them. Just a couple of other things before we finish this short section. Because you've used my profile, these are already enabled, but you've got a little ribbon menu down the bottom here. Snap to content, snap to markup, reuse markup tools, synchronize views. They're all checked by default. Just get into the habit of leaving those as they are. They're really useful, and I'll explain why as we go along. One other thing that's really handy is if you go into File and you go into View, should I say, and make sure this full screen crosshair is checked. That gives you this crosshair. It's very CAD-like, and I think that's the idea. But again, when measuring, that's really handy. And these tools down the bottom here are all kind of self-explanatory. They're very PDF Adobe-like. So I won't bother explaining too much. I'm sure you understand what they do. But next lesson we shall move on to tools, the toolboxes, and the differences between the tools and how to use them and how the tools actually work.